right, my Oscar revisionism, 1985 Oscars, movies from 1984. I use this website, atotg.com. It's Ask Oscar website. It's got a lot of good information. It tells us what movies were eligible upon release. So I play by the rules. I deal only with eligible releases, and I stick to 5 Best Picture nominees, which is going to be absolutely brutal this year because I want to put about 8 or 9 down there for Best Picture nominee, but oh well, we'll have to pick 5 out of the list. Now you see over here, here's the Best Picture and Best Director from that year. Amadeus won, Milos Forman, The Killing Fields, Passage to India, Place in the Heart, A Soldier Story. The question is, how many of you has watched all 5 of these movies? I'm going to guess like 1% of the audience here, 1% of people everywhere have watched these 5 movies. A couple of these are really obscure, including A Soldier Story, which I had a hard time finding. I had to get it on interlibrary loan from the DVD. And then these other ones maybe you've not heard of either. Best Director pretty much overlaps, although they put Woody Allen, Broadway Danny Rose in there instead of whichever one it is. A Soldier Story, a Norman Jewison. But these are mostly the Best Director, as usual, overlaps with Best Director. I think they royally screwed this up. Actually, this is awful. I mean, I think the movies that are really good, really memorable, didn't make it here. The only one I really, really like is Amadeus, as you'll see. Killing Fields is okay. I actually like that movie, too. Broadway Danny Rose, I can't stand. Passage to India, David Lane, okay, he's fine. But these other ones are too sentimental to me. So let's look at my list of nominees. Actually, the draft that I built for myself first. Now, if you check this out, I've got my draft and those worth mentioning. Normally, I have a much longer list of those worth mentioning. And there's a bunch of movies, famous movies like Ghostbusters, Footloose, for example, that were from this year, but I don't have them here because I don't know that they're that memorable, or they're not, at least to me. These ones in the draft and nominees list I like a lot. In fact, this is a top-heavy year. That's exactly what I'm saying here. I don't think the mid-tier of movies here this year is very good. I think this overall is a worse year than previous 80s years, but there are some outstanding movies, and I think this is a top-heavy year, as I said. It's like the top 8 or 9 movies are amazingly great. And so to me, the 80s continues to be a very good decade for movies overall, although with the fewer movies in the worth mentioning list, I am seeing the studio movies, the big-budget studio movies, the takeover of studios that supposedly, and I think it did happen in the early 1980s, they took over the screenplays, there's more middle management and so on, less room for directors and other types of artists on movies to work free and independently of studio oversight. I think that's showing up here quite a bit by this point in 1984. Now, my draft of nominees list, I still have Amadeus. I think that's an amazing, amazing movie. I've done several, I think 2 or 3 videos on that. Body Double by Brian De Palma, a very good noir film. It's noir, I think. El Norte, one of the few movies ever to comment directly on south of the border, U.S. south of the border immigration into the U.S. It's got a wonderful structure and an amazing final shot. I definitely recommend that one. Check that one out. You know, I could keep going here. The Killing Fields is a good movie about, was it communism in Cambodia? L'Argent is Robert Bresson's, one of his last movies, maybe his last. It's a good movie. Love Streams by Cassavetes, one of his last movies. And Once Upon a Time in America. If you haven't seen it, it's the last movie again. Sergio Leone, you know, a sprawling epic of immigration and gangsterism in America. Obviously, it's a response in some ways to The Godfather and coming out of The Godfather, you know, Godfather 1 and Godfather 2. It's worth watching. I really like it. Thanks to my viewers for telling me to watch it. Paris, Texas is one of the most heartbreaking and amazing movies ever in terms of its last act. A Passage to India is David Lane, good adaptation of a novel. Repo Man, one of my favorite punk sci-fi inspired movies. Stranger Than Paradise, not eligible, so I can't put it on the final list, but I love this independent movie by Jim Jarmusch, his second feature film overall. And then the ultimate mockumentary, you might claim that to be, I do, it's Rob Reiner's This Is Spinal Tap, which sends up everything to do with modern pop music at this point and rock music, all the rock music trends going all the way back to the 50s. It's a really, really amazing movie that contains 30 plus years of popular music and all the tropes and cliches into one big package. Still a hilarious movie. Now just contrast any 5 movies from this list. I don't care. Do a random generator and pick any 5 movies. It is going to be a better list by far than the best pictures they picked and Best Picture nominees in the 1985 Oscars. It just is. I mean, besides Amadeus, I think your other 4 movies in the list these are eminently watchable. They're studyable. I just recommend them. So I think most of you, if you watch through this list of movies, you'll like 8 of them. I think there are like 12 here. You'll like 2/3 of them a lot. I strongly believe in that. So go try some of these. Now the job here for me is to pick 5. So narrow this down to 5 best picture lists. I don't know how to do this. Honestly, I'm going to pick Amadeus, and I'm going to pick Once Upon a Time in America, Paris, Texas, This Is Spinal Tap. But my 5th one, I am still deliberating on. I haven't even put it down here, and I'm still thinking about it as I'm talking about it. My heart says Repo Man, one of my favorite science fiction movies, and a movie I love to rewatch. It's a lot of fun, and I've covered on this channel. I think the one I'm going to, and I like Body Double too, but I'm going to pick El Norte because of its topics, its themes. I think it's an excellent movie I continue to chew on. You may not disagree with all of it. You probably will disagree with some of it, and yet it's still a fresh movie. It's still actually very relevant and very interesting. I think everything about it is really quite good, and so I'm going to pick that one. And these are my 5: Amadeus, El Norte, Once Upon a Time in America, Paris, Texas, This Is Spinal Tap. Now I've got to pick Best Picture, and so far in this giant Oscar revisionism experiment, I have not picked anything that the Academy has done. I picked something completely different. What would you pick out of this list, or anything eligible? Let us know in the comments what you think the 5 best movies were, or the 5 Best Picture nominees, and what movie would you pick as the best of 1984, re-awarding the 1985 Best Picture Oscar.
I'm here to present the Best Picture Award, and the winner for this is...
I am picking Amadeus. I really love this big-time showbiz movie based on the Peter Shaffer play. Very interesting historically, but also a great movie about music, artistic creation, jealousy, one of the best depictions of envy ever. Great frame narrative, fantastic performances in this, including F. Murray Abraham, and the soundtrack is unbeatable. Obviously, it's Mozart's own music. Milos Forman did this amazing movie that he did, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, which is a fantastic movie. And this movie, is it different? I think it's completely different in so many ways. So Milos Forman, obviously a great movie artist. But I will say, I think of these other 4 movies here, some of them, if they had been released in previous years, I would have picked them to win Best Picture. And Once Upon a Time in America, that's Oscar bait today. I think it would be. Back then, they were picking more sentimental, sort of syrupy movies, feel-good movies like Places in the Heart, which is a fine movie. I don't mind it at all. I've watched it a couple times. It's okay and decent, and I can get through it all. But I think some of these are more hard-edged, more interesting art, and I think some of these that I picked are overall just better than the ones that were nominated in 1985. That's enough for my praise of this list. I love these 5 movies. I think they're great, so pursue them if you want. But what would you pick? Let us know in the comments. Please subscribe to this channel for more great content. Thank you. Have a great day.